I'd love to hear a bit more about the actual process of growing mushrooms. Can you describe in a few simple steps how these wonderful things come into being?
Sure. So the process is actually quite simple. I didn't make anything up. I got everything from online and books. A book that I would recommend is Paul Stamets' book, Growing Gourmet Medicinal Mushrooms. I believe that's what the title is. And Paul Stamets is sort of known in this space to be leading the way in understanding mushrooms, not only medicinal but just in general the magic of mushrooms, of how essentially we are made of this fungus. The earth is made of it. It essentially, everything that we see stems from this process of fungi. And so that's a great resource that I would recommend. And the process is quite simple. You know, you know, uh, I grow a lot of mushrooms, but the space isn't very large. It doesn't require much space at all. Uh, but it starts with like a bag, a gallon bag. You put these birdseed or um, some sort of grain into this bag. This bag, you put it into a pressure cooker for sanitation. So the entire process requires extreme sanitation. The more sanitary you can be, the better. It's actually quite COVID friendly. So you can spray things down with alcohol, torch the needles that you use. You keep the environment clean. You wear, a lab coat or suit. You're wearing gloves the entire time. You're spraying yourself down with alcohol the entire time. You keep things as hygienic as possible because at some point you're going to possibly come into some corruption. And so you want to be as cleanly as possible to avoid that corruption or to minimize it as much as possible. Once you have this bag with grain and it's sanitized, you inject the bag with the spores. The spores is something that you can get online. I got it from a friend originally, and then the other uh, strains that I've just purchased from various questionable websites on the internet. And you, do you have
Are
a
they,
question about
wait,
that?
wait, are the, well, I'm just trying to imagine what spores look like. I remember learning about them in science. They always seem to be these mysterious, invisible things. So you said you inject with spores. Is it a liquid or?
Yeah, well, it's in a solution. So the spore is just, I mean, it's sort of like a dark semen looking thing. And in the solution, it looks like that. It looks like a kind of what semen would look like. But so you can kind of see you're injecting, and you can use the other word of impregnating this bag with the
Okay, I
spores.
like it. I'm getting kind of excited by this process. It's
Yeah,
very
well,
good. Yeah.
essentially, the spores are the seed, right? Just like, this is why everything is connected, right? Everything is just a story of what of the human development and human creation, and this really paints a nice picture. When you go through this process of growing mushrooms, you can really see what we're doing as a human race, because the mushrooms are doing exactly the same thing, and you're kind of doing it as like the scientist. You're like in the lab, impregnating this bag, and with DNA, right? And the DNA is has a story to it. That's what DNA is. It's a written out story made up of ones and zeros. It's a program. It's nothing personal, right? It just is what it is. And so you impregnate this bag with the spores. You put this bag in a clean, hygienic, temperature controlled environment, and a week or so later, you start to see the mycelium take over. And the mycelium, when it takes over the bag completely, you can see it's a white, very clear that it's ready. And then you take that and you mix it in with substrate. The substrate is made up of soil and eggshells, and the sort of the substrate that you've made up of a good home for the seed to take root. And then you place that in another growing tent, still very hygienic, the entire process. And at some point, maybe 10 days later, the mycelium starts to take over the entire bin. And so many of these instructions you find online, they want you to do like a little jar. And yeah, the jar will be much faster, but it only do a little bit. And I want to do a lot. So I use an entire large bin. So the mycelium takes over the bin. It's very clear. And, maybe a week and a half after that, mushrooms start to grow. And so during the process of mixing the mycelium with the substrate, this is where the thing that I do is what I consider special is the water that I use. The water that I use is something I've put a lot of thought into, using sort of the scientific findings of a guy named Dr. Emoto, where he does these scientific experiments studying water, freezing water, and seeing the shape that water takes. And so he does these experiments. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but he does these experiments where he puts jars with water and rice in them. And on one jar, he would write the words, "I love you." And the other one, he writes, "I hate you." And he puts these jars in separate rooms. And every day he walks into these rooms and he tells the jar, "I love you." And he tells the other jar, "I hate you." And over a period of weeks, the jar that says, "I hate you," starts to grow sort of this ugly, dirty, cancerous looking growth growing in the water. And the jar that says, "I love you," starts to ferment sort of like a beautiful wine, and it has like a pleasant scent. So using this sort of thinking, I produce the highest quality water I can using reverse osmosis. I put and I run it through a remineralizer. That I run through another system for the name escapes me at the moment. Maybe I'll remember in a little bit. But I put this water in these large glass 5-gallon jugs. And then I created a space that I call the holy space, or a holy room. And I play music in this room, kind of like a nice meditative, loving music. And I play it for the water. And then I use this water that I mix with the substrate and the mycelium. And so I set this sort of like an environment for these mushrooms to grow into, the best environment that I can imagine. And in my imagination, these mushrooms are happy to come into this environment. They come in with like a purpose. And so, I pick the mushrooms at the right moment. The right moment for me is, right before they bloom, like they're not quite ready to blow up. They just right before you can sort of see this, they're right when they're about to bloom. Right before that, I feel like they're the most rich in psilocybin. And so you pick them. So it's quite the process because it goes quite fast. You can miss it. You can miss it if you take your eye off of it. And so, I have cameras in this environment, and so I'm keeping an eye on it. And then you dry them. You dry the mushrooms, and you give them to people as gifts.
Right, and then you're just psilocybin Santa. I'd like to come and do some picking with you. It's a beautiful process, and I love this. I love you water. It made me think. People talk about we should put LSD in the water to change the world. Maybe we just need to put "I love you" in the water. We need to kind of get down in there into the pipes and spread some "I love yous" around.